for two people. Why does the white Democrats, why do they not see that? Atan, why don't you introduce our guest? We can get his thoughts on this, as well as I think you really hit your nail on the head, Atan. Stephen A. slash I'm going to be the only person to not defend Jimmy Kimmel Smith. Let's talk about them, please. Oh,
Yes.
please introduce our guest and then let's rock and roll.
Yes, the Young Turks. I've known him for a long time. I appreciate his work. And everybody that's not familiar with his work, even though all of our audience, I'm sure, are. He does a great job covering a myriad of topics. I interviewed him for my book, Police Brutality, White Supremacy, and he pushes the envelope in a way that brings the topic to a whole different audience that is missing in mainstream America. And that's why he always has my respect and respect everybody on WPFW. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rick Strom. How you doing, sir?
Hello, everybody. How we doing? Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh,
Good,
terrific
good,
to have
good.
you here, man. Atan, throw one of your like you just did with me. One of your softballs covered in gasoline, lit on fire for Rick Strom to take a swing at.
Yeah, I mean, Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett has been receiving a lot of backlash, and especially from Laura Loom. And she has called her such profanities, and that it's just amazing sometimes that where politics has gone to, and it shouldn't surprise us, and yet it still does. For me, I mean, it's gone to a whole different place, and my kids sometimes like is this the way politics is supposed to be? I'm like, no, nothing that you're seeing is normal and how it should be. But talk about what Jasmine Crockett just said. What you just heard as far as the vote for the Charlie Kirk, whatever that they was trying to do. The amount of people who supported it, the amount of white people in particular that supported it, and some of the backlash that she's received.
Sure. So again, appreciate you guys having me. Here's what I will say to it. Her dialogue with CNN in that discussion was honestly microcosmic of the reaction that we saw from the United States and a large portion of the electorate that was split largely along racial lines. Because from what I saw, whether it was Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, etc., you saw a lot of black folks saying, like, look, you don't have to mourn the guy. He came after me. He came after people that look like me. Why? I'm not celebrating it, but why should I give a damn what happened? And then a lot of, I would say, middle of the road, predominantly Caucasian, liberal, centrist creators would say this is terrible and we need to do everything possible so this never happens again. And they really which is partially true, but they just really couldn't understand like the full scope and why people reacted in a strong way in the way that they did. And it's indicative of the communities that he attacked. Like, yes, he would go after, liberals and he would go after trans people, but he predominantly went after black folks
Mm-hmm.
and Muslim people and going after Zoran Mamdani and going after the WNBA over and over and over again, going after Simone Biles, calling LeBron James low IQ, which, by the way, was my first introduction to Charlie Kirk because I had no idea who he was until like 2019. And as we know, when a white person does not have the wherewithal and understanding to really dissect how they feel about an individual and they placate to racial tropes for their audience, it's
Mm-hmm.
fairly obvious what you're saying. It's a complete dog whistle.
Right.
And as he's attacking the Civil Rights Act, right,
Yeah.
I then point to
Attacking, calling for it to be abolished,
calling
saying
for
it
it
was
to
a
be
great
abolished.
mistake,
And then I'm
not
looking
calling
at
for a
this,
tweak.
right, saying that it was a mistake and it shouldn't happen. And then we're talking about Jasmine Crockett, who's a literal civil rights attorney.
Mhm.
It just can't get more glaringly obvious that her criticisms are valid. And the reaction, once again, falls by the wayside and falls completely short, predominantly from people that look like Dave and I. because they just cannot see it. They can't put themselves in another person's shoes.
Well, they're lucky if they look like me. But I'll let me throw to
You
you,
are a
Rick.
handsome fellow, Dave, I will say.
As are you, sir. And Atan, hey, three good-looking fellas doing some radio. There's something wrong with that equation. Why are we on the radio? But Rick, question for you on this front. I'd love to. Atan and I have discussed this often, but I would love to know your reaction when first they did the Charlie Kirk tribute on the Thursday night game for
Yeah.
everybody. Call, then that was the NFL's call. I made phone calls to find out the exactitude of this. So that was Goodell's call for the Thursday night.
Could you
And
enlighten
then,
me very quickly on that reporting?
could I what?
Could you enlighten me very quickly on your
Sure.
reporting there?
Yeah, I called
Please.
the NFL. Got the VP of communications on, and
Michael McCarthy?
yeah, Brian McCarthy, and he
Brian
laid
McCarthy,
it
sorry.
out, laid it
Mm.
out. Plain spoken. You know, he's just like Thursday night was the Goodell call. Sunday night, it was up to individual NFL ownership as to whether or not they would do it. So then it becomes like this litmus test. Like
Yes.
I'm at the Ravens game because I was there that Sunday for reporting purposes, but I'm also there, knowing that that's the team of my wife's family, and I'm like, please no Charlie Kirk, please no Charlie Kirk, please no Charlie Kirk, and there wasn't. They didn't do it
Right.
at Baltimore. But what happened after that? A tiresome, might be bots in Tel Aviv, who the heck knows, harassment campaign of the people of who work for the Ravens
Oh.
because they didn't do a tribute.
Hmm.
You know, they don't have Steve Bisciotti's home number,
Right.
the
Right.
owner of the team. So it's like you go after the workers there because it's always about kicking down,
Yeah.
always. And this idea that feels very fascistic to me of you are not mourning enough the person we are telling you have to mourn.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Hmm.
That's really something. Oh, and also, we will fire you if you publish things he actually said.
Right.
That's
Right.
another wow.
Right.
I've used
Right.
this line a million times, Rick, before you please, and by all means, then filibuster about what your thoughts are about the Kirk thing. But I've used this line a million times. I'm going to use it again. They keep comparing him, and I know this is just monstrous trolling, whatever, but they're comparing him to like MLK, whatever. You know, let's forget the stupidity of that for a second.
Right.
Imagine if after MLK died, his supporters were like to the media, you better not quote him. We don't want his words out there.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah, of
Like,
course.
how dare you tell the world he said, I may not get there with you, free at last. You know, it's like they want to punish you for quoting the man.
Right.
Right.
Because he was, I abhor all political violence. He was that messed up a human being that he said things so hateful. And frankly, it's just really disturbing to me that Jasmine Crockett is one of the few people willing to say it out loud when everybody should be. Coerced mourning is just frankly ghastly and grotesque and obscene. But Rick, your thoughts when you saw the NFL's Mourn Charlie Kirk campaign?
Oh, I mean, I think it's fairly obvious how I felt about it. It felt like we were attempting to and were using sports washing in order to whitewash a white person's reputation that said just very dangerous, violent things. I mean, if anybody were to go through, because he did podcasts, he did interviews, he went on tour, you could find anything that you want. If you were to just type in list of Charlie Kirk's racism, list of Charlie Kirk's transphobia, where he attacked Leah Thomas, list of Charlie Kirk going after women, he was basically a less athletic Harrison Butker on the subject.
Mhm.
What really gets me about the NFL using his image is that and it goes without saying, we've all covered Colin Kaepernick, but it just needs to be stated very quickly that this was the same exact league that kicked out somebody for saying that racism is bad, the military is mistreated, and police
Yep.
brutality exists in the country. and he was kicked out of the league, where the Wall Street Journal even reported on a phone call that took place involving Stephen Ross, basically saying that, well, the president is very strong. He says that it uplifts me. There's really nothing that we can do. So they played by his rules. And we all know what happened there. Okay. So they set the precedent, no politics in sports.
Hmm.
And yet, what we're doing in 20 plus home stadiums, or 20 is a long shot, in half of the home stadiums, a little less than half in the National Football League, is inserting politics into sports. It just doesn't really make sense to me. But what we have covered, and what the three of us have covered, and a few others as well, is that sports is being used to carry out, as Dave said, fascistic tendencies within the administration, whether that is somebody being honored, whether that is even for the US as a whole, military flyovers, whether it is Daniel Penny, JD Vance, Donald Trump, and others in a skybox as they're put on the Jumbotron with a Palantir logo right next to it. I
Right.
just wish everybody would understand and read these signs that sports have always been political. They're just putting it into overdrive to carry out a certain agenda that fits them.
And let's talk specifically about this backlash that Jasmine Crockett has received, and it's been, especially from Laura Loom. Let me read her comments. And this was Laura Loomer's reaction was simply because Jasmine Crockett did not stand with the colleagues of color who objected to Kirk's whatever they was going. What were they going to do for him? A memorialization or so whatever they wanted to do.
They want to
She
build
didn't.
a statue. I mean, how far will they go?
Right. How far, I mean, goodness, they want to do the commemorative coin, the moments of silence, every flag at half staff, everything like that. So now they want to do a statue, and she didn't stand with that. So Laura Loomer said, it hurts my heart that we have ghetto black bees who
Hmm.
hate America serving in Congress. That was her statement, and I didn't hear enough people in Congress come to her defense because every single person should have denounced that. Every single person, whether they're black or white, should have been running to CNN, to Roland Martin, to whoever to denounce what was said, but it was eerily silent. But what was your reaction to hearing that?
I hate to even say this, but my instant reaction, maybe because we have become so numb as an electorate politically to see these things and this sort of rhetoric over and over again. I was completely unsurprised. I just wasn't surprised. I can't be surprised with someone who will, in video, align with Nick Fuentes, who is an avowed Nazi, and cheers him about the white race because of the election of Donald Trump. So I can't really be surprised. What I will also say, though, is that we wouldn't necessarily even be bringing up Laura Loomer right now if it wasn't for Elon Musk and his takeover of Twitter. There's
That's
a
true.
reason why these people get banned from these platforms. It's because they have a large audience. I would rather them be 4 clicks away instead of 2 clicks away from having these hateful, diabolical messages being put out. There's a reason why she was banned off Lyft, off Uber, off, I believe, maybe even Instacart as well, or Uber Eats, one of those. And there's a reason why she was banned off Twitter when Elon didn't own it. It's because of stuff like this and how she will fan the flames of bigotry within the MAGA base. So, for all this talk about how Elon is, I saw an interview with Ro Khanna, and I understand he's like, he represents Silicon Valley. I believe it was on Adam Freeland's show, who's doing some pretty good interviews. The Richie Torres interview, if you haven't seen it, please go watch it. But what I noticed is that he was like, no, we should be trying to talk to Elon and we should be trying to use him. No, you should not be using these people because even though he will say that he is for all the right things and he doesn't support, Nazi-like behavior, he gave 2 Sig Heils at the inauguration. He lets back on Nick Fuentes, lets back on Laura Loomer, and supports the AFD. So I'm really thinking like it's interesting how they talk about crackdowns of like lefties when really all that we want is like free healthcare, free college, and high-speed rail. And really the crackdown should come from people like Laura Loomer because of their influence and just how hateful they are as people.
Yeah.
Let-
Real quick though.
you know,
Free healthcare, healthcare industry, billionaires making that the big roadblock to that happening. Free college. They don't want an educated populace. They
Hmm.
actually want us ignorant and frankly stupid.
Yes.
Which and sick too, which I think is a lot of the Robert Kennedy Jr. HHS perspective. Like if you're sick, that just means you're lesser, and therefore and that's also an extremely weird eugenicist
Yes.
approach to things. Donald Trump telling mothers that they need to get tougher when they're pregnant, like things like rather than to take Tylenol. I mean, which was one of the most monstrous press conferences, by the way, I've ever seen. It's like, and then high speed rail, man, which is my dream too, man. Thought of getting from DC to Philly in 45 minutes. Can you imagine that? I mean, they certainly can in Europe and Japan.
Totally. Yeah.
Can't imagine it
Exactly.
here.
that is true.
These are things that also have like just tremendously entrenched lobbies. I mean, we're just such a country awash in dark money.
Yeah.
And the people who run that dark money, Jane Meyer warned us this a year ago, like 10 years ago, in her book about it. She's in her New Yorker articles. She said, look, it's not just that they're giving money to the right wing. It's that these people themselves are so far right wing, people just don't even have an idea this isn't like the old days of H.L. Hunt giving money to Richard Nixon. I mean, this is next level in terms of who these people are, and they're very hyper dominionist version of the United States that they want to see.
Agreed.
Scary times. Stephen A. Smith, though, we have 3 minutes left. Rick Strom,
Nah,
credible
listen.
presidential candidate. What do you think?
No, no, absolutely not. Not credible. Do you think he's credible?
No.
Okay, good.
Although this country, you know, like
No, 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 no,
all
no, no,
bets
no,
are
no, no, no.
off.
Look, I saw an interview that Bomani Jones gave to Awful Announcing probably about 6 to 8 months ago, and he's like, he's really popular. Like, I don't think we understand how popular he is because we're in the thick of it. And we understand his popularity, but outside of it, he's really, really popular. I don't buy it. I just don't. I think people will bring up the Ray Rice clip. I think people will bring up what he has, the way that he has conducted himself around Malik Hiram at times. And I think they'll also bring up how he is best friends with a lot of Republicans. Like, I just don't really buy it. I think what he really wants is Jimmy Kimmel's spot. And I think he's playing footsie with politics in order to show that he could not only get his name out, but that one hand will wash the other for him to remain relevant outside of sports, because this is probably the last big contract that he is going to get with Disney. As we know, they depend on live sports. Their entire model is built on live sports. A lot of the other shows do not perform well. First Take still does. That's indicative of his popularity, I suppose. But as I see it, presidential candidate, no. Hunting for the Kimmel spot, yes.
But I don't see him running as a Democrat though. I mean, you said
Yeah.
because he'd probably be, say that he would show him being friends with Republicans. Those are his friends. Tucker
Uh-huh.
Carlson, those are his
And
people.
being a
Mark Levin.
sexist towards Molly is actually now a plus in Trump's America. Like
That's true.
everything that we used to see as deficits, even the Ray Rice stuff. I mean, we're in a pretty dark place right now with regards to what's accepted in politics, with regards to violence against women.
Mhm.
I don't see that. I think he'll be looked at as mild sauce compared to this cabinet of rapists that Trump has assembled around him.
But I will say the rules are different. He still does have a black face, and the will be different than for him than they will be for Trump. No matter what you think about
That is
Stephen,
true.
you will have to walk a different line than Trump. Trump can have 34 felonies and all these different things documented, Epstein files, all these different connections, and still be president.
Although his popularity it is dropping too, as people are seeing that paycheck drop. It's just the problem to me, and I know we got to wrap up the show, is that the Republican Party governs like they're never going to have to see a free and fair election again. And that to me is the bigger worry, because even that hedge of having to face the people on a national
Mhm.
basis just feels like that's frayed, if not gone.
Yeah.
Agreed.
We got to have you on again. The time flew
Yeah,
too
Rick.
quick. Yeah, we got